From the city lights to the country blue, Woody and Lou got the sports for you. From Boston streets to Kentucky's fields, get ready, folks, for the thrill it yields. Woody and Lou, sports and you, talking games, we love it's true. Every play, every score, let's dive in, it's time for more. Lacing up the boots and calling plays, debates and laughs for all the days. From Fenway Park to Derby Run, sports talk magic just begun. Woody, Lou, sports and you, sideline stories coming through. Every cheer, heartbeat soar, tune in now, we'll give you more. Celtics screams to Wildcats roar, touchdowns, goals, and so much more. Grab a seat, enjoy the ride, Woody, Lou, right by your side.
The views expressed by the hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Department of Defense, the U.S. government, or any of its agencies. The information provided is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. No attorney-client relationship is formed by providing this information, and nothing herein should be relied upon as legal counsel. For legal advice specific to your situation, please consult a qualified attorney.
Braxton, episode 14. Happy Sunday. It's good to see you. We were supposed to go live earlier this week, but some life got in the way. So no worries there. But how have you been?
Dan, it's been great. I'm glad we're here for this episode. Wednesday fell through. No fault of anyone. Just it is what it is. But we did make it back for our Sunday show, and I'm really fired up to be here, Dan.
Me too. I look forward to this every week with our award-winning listeners. We currently have 2 viewers. Hopefully those numbers improve as the show goes on, as we'll get into our first ever live guest. Hopefully no technical difficulties as we try something new. But before we get into our guest, Braxton, we had a Woody Lou, Sports and You listener submission for us to start off with.
Yeah, and we always talk about the U as part of our show. The U is very important. The U is our third host of the show at all times. And before we get to the topic that was sent in, I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss the fact that we did have a giveaway.
Oh, yes.
Our last show. We were unable to present the giveaway winner on Wednesday. We were going to pull it out of a hat. We ended up using producer Kaylee utilized a random name generator. We used all the entries, and listener Tyler Bird won the giveaway. So that will be in the mail at some point when producer Kaylee has the opportunity to do so.
Congratulations, Tyler.
He's a day one subscriber, day one follower. I hope he's in the chat. I told producer Kaylee I wanted to do it like a lottery where we would announce at the beginning of the show, and if it was not claimed by the end of the show in the comments section, that we would move on. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep it as is. So congrats to Tyler Bird.
Tyler is in the chat, Braxton. Tell him to bring me my money, he says.
Run up his money. I can't see the comments section, so that's apologies. But congrats to Tyler. So, yeah, the U. We had a listener, Trooper Mac, this week called in with a topic that he wanted us to discuss. He said we must discuss it. We can't let it walk. And that topic, we're going to be mature about this because this is a PG show, monetized production. We cannot be too filthy, and it is Sunday.
It's Sunday. I think I went to church again today. Two weeks in a row. I'm doing pretty good.
I love that, Dan. Our family also went to church today, so we're filled with the Lord, and we're not going to disparage any one of our listeners. So the topic, and it's in sports, and it covers sports, is the WNBA. We're almost becoming a WNBA podcast. It's like our third show in a row talking WNBA. So don't say we're not an ally. There's been some promiscuous acts happening.
You want to get promiscuous acts?
There have been some promiscuous gestures performed at, I believe it's 2, Dan, WNBA games.
It's 2. Yes, it happened in Atlanta, and then most recently Chicago Sky game. And if our listeners, you haven't seen the highlight reel or the story, you potentially have a serial sex toy thrower in the WNBA. It's an interesting thing to throw. I know that a few years ago, I want to say it was 2016 or 2018, a similar object for self-pleasure was thrown onto the field at a Bills Patriots game in Buffalo. And Braxton, what are your thoughts on this? It's pretty funny. I think it's actually very funny.
I want to be very clear on my stance in this, because you never know. We might become an official WNBA podcast. There's no room in the game for the Dingley Diddler to be throwing this apparatus onto the court of these high-performing athletes. With that being said, if you're into gambling, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. There are now odds for what the next color object will be thrown.
So I know the most recent was neon green. You couldn't miss it. Actually, the serial thrower who has been doing this, you could see it clearly on the TV screen. And actually, it was pretty impressive how quickly, like, the referee, like, she came over, she gave it a quick, like, soccer kick. But what I thought was the funniest was one of the maintenance people who, wipes down the hardwood. No pun intended. He jumped so high when that object was kicked in his direction. He wanted no part of that piece of rubber.
I think in everyone's life, no matter how much money you make, whatever your job is, there's a point in everyone's either day or week or month or year where within your job description, you find yourself doing something where you make the statement, I don't get paid enough for this.
Right.
And I think this might fit that narrative of he did not get paid enough to dispose of that said product. Because you're making a lot of assumptions, right? You're hoping, best case scenario, is that product was bought just to be thrown on the court.
Yeah, like out of the box, like brand new, not used.
Any other scenario, this is a very bad situation. So there's no place for it if you are into making money and you want to do it in maybe not the best way. The biggest odds right now, the best rewarding odds is on a blue one being thrown next. So just be on the lookout. This might drive up viewership for degenerate gamblers, but there's no place for it. But it is objectively kind of funny.
Yeah, I would say we'll close with official stance of Woody Lou Sports and You Sports Podcast is no one should be throwing objects of any kind onto a sporting arena or field where the players are. It's dangerous, but these objects being thrown, maybe we're just, we try to do this in a mature way, but the immature, it's very funny.
It's inappropriate.
It's inappropriate. Yeah, we'll close with that.
Now,
go ahead, Braxton.
Before we get going, is the comment box on the screen for our listeners so they can interact?
It will be. So once we get, actually, it's a good segue. We'll welcome our guest, and it will be there.
Very well. We love to produce on air in this show.
Yeah.
That's part of the you. We want you to be a part of it, so we want you to be part of the production. So we have our first ever guest on Woody Lou Sports and You. He unofficially goes by the Mad Hatter. The last time he was seen on the YouTube airways was in 2020 on a show formerly known as Basement Sports Talk. He made several appearances on this show. He wore a variety of hats. Never re-wore a hat. I think he really prided himself on that. He is otherwise known as my father, otherwise known as Chris Lewis, and he is the first guest on Woody Lewis Sports and You. Welcome.
Long-time commenter, first-time guest. So without further ado, hopefully this works. And there we do. We have him. We have Mr. Chris Lewis. Welcome to the Mad Hatter.
Gentlemen, what an honor it is to be called up from the minor leagues. I'm now on the show, and in honor of the show, I've bought my oven mitts just in case we have a rogue computer and or a device we have to pick up from a WNBA floor. So I'm excited to be here.
And I thought I'd join you. Crazy Hat Day here on Woody Lewis Sports and You with the Mad Hatter. And I'm happy you have your sliding mitts. So Braxton, I mean, your dad, first ever guest. He missed the last episode when we got into this. So, Mr. Lewis, would you like to weigh in on the fair or foul double sliding mitt?
So here's what I'll say. And I did go back and rewatch your all's episode, and what a great job y'all did discussing it. I will say, as a former baseball coach, I never understood the oven mitt, nor could I give you a legitimate, dare I say, legal review on why people wear them. I will say, though, much like a lot of things that kids do when they watch people they idolize, it seems just to be a trend. So in keeping with that trend, I'm doing it. But I'll say, it's probably out. Go ahead.
Were any of our takes last week accurate when we discussed potentially adding inches to the slide or safety of the throwing hand? Was any of that accurate at all?
So, yes, there is obviously extension of the hand, especially when you're talking about force plays or even thrown back to first. My first take was like yours, Braxton, that it could prevent injuries to the throwing hand, yet a majority of our kids wore them on the left hand. And when I asked them why they didn't put it on their throwing hand, it's because they felt like their left hand got back to the bag faster from first base. So,
and do you think? I mean, this is all speculation, and I think we all are on the same page on this. Was there any added advantage? Like, would this kid have gotten thrown out or not thrown out, given him having or not having the throwing mitt or the sliding mitt on one of his hands?
I would state that as a stat taker, as an assistant coach, which that's a lot of my job, there's no empirical data that would support such thing.
Thank you. However, did you also have the pet peeve, though? Did you have any kids that would wear them in their back pocket in the field? Because that's what really drives me nuts.
Never witnessed that. However, I do know from time to time when I was coaching first base that I came back looking like I was deployed to Afghanistan with all my body armor.
Did you ever think you needed like one of those those beach wagons to take the first base so you could carry back all the armor to the dugout?
Yeah, 100%. It got to a point where us coaches had a meeting with the team and discussed if you're going to wear equipment, you're going to carry it yourself once you get on back. So, yeah, it got to be a point of this is just ridiculous. And it seemed like it grew every week, too. It was pretty amazing.
And, Dan, I think I'd said this on episode 1 or 2, or maybe I just told you, just you and me talking about the time that on a summer league team, I hit the home run off the kid from another high school.
Oh, yeah.
Who just wants. So that story. So when Dad got mad at me and made me run poles, he made me run in all of my catching
Correct.
equipment. And so I was literally last night in bed thinking about this. If I was a high school baseball coach, whatever you wore up to bat, whenever the team had to run poles, you'd have to wear all of that equipment to see just how necessary it was for you. So if you can run poles in it, then you can wear it to the plate.
Yeah, I think that's pretty logical. You'd be a good coach, Braxton.
I would get fired. I'd Billy Gillespie the kids.
So this was also brought up in the last episode, Mr. Lewis. I know you listened. And goes back to Braxton's youth days. Cleaning up puddles on your bathroom floor, and your take on hardening hands.
Yes. So, as a father, there's times in your life you look back and you wish you would have some mulligans. But I will say,
Sure.
there has been research proven of people making it to the show, by doing certain acts to toughen their hands. Now I'm gonna throw a challenge flag on the age in which I was accused of starting the ritual. And when I brought up the age to my wonderful daughter-in-law, producer Kaylee, she said that made it sound worse. So I don't know which way to go on this topic. But I will say that I may have mentioned that some professional baseball players, Moises Alou, Vladimir Guerrero, those individuals, to toughen their hands, not to use batting gloves so they had a better feel on the bat, would utilize bodily functions to make calluses and to keep those hands tough.
Okay. And I don't want this necessarily to turn into just trading stories, and it's not to make you look bad. But I do have one more follow up, just so we can just make sure on the record that we understand timelines. True or false? In 5th grade, you took me to a baseball game in Columbia, South Carolina, and before the game, you said we're going to get you a pregame Klondike bar. I went 0 for 3 that game, and the first words out of your mouth in the truck were, "Well, you're never eating a Klondike bar again." True or false?
There's some truth to that statement. However, you made many statements about me wanting to push you to be the best, and as we know, being in sports, there are certain rituals. Like you could wear the same hat all year long, or so if you did something the day before that caused you to go 3 for 3, and I introduced a new product into the system, and we go 0 for 3, we take that away, much like wrestling that I've
just trial and error,
had
really.
to take away from. You're correct.
Okay, I just wanted to get that.
I will say the methods I used should not be promoted nor endorsed by any loving family. I will say that.
Well, no, I disagree, because I think if more of these kids peed on their hands, they wouldn't be going up there in neon pink batting gloves and double elbow Evo shields, and maybe we'd have a little
and double oven mitt.
Yeah, maybe we get less of that, and I'd rather have more pee on the hands.
I think Miss Amy Lewis in the chat would disagree. She is saying that she was the cleanup crew for the hardening of the hands ritual.
Yeah, definitely. We left that chore to her as we had to get, and she was the great supportive mother and spouse. She understood the method to the madness, and it was part of a team of sorts. She understood we all had roles.
That's right. Well, okay, enough about bodily functions and the Lewis home. Moving on to more baseball, the Speedway Classic was scheduled for yesterday evening in Bristol, Tennessee, at the Bristol Motor Speedway between the Braves and the Reds. So, Braxton, let you lead off with the Speedway Classic.
So I get home, and I get home last night. I immediately turn it on, and I turned it on when Tim McGraw and Pitbull were doing their concert, which I understand you have to reach varying demographics to get buy-in, and that's all good and well. I thought it was cool. I immediately texted you because I saw there's a lot of skin showing from some of the performers. I thought it was just a ruckus. But at the end of the day, people were kind of hating on it. I think it's insanely appropriate for that to happen at Bristol. So I really saw no harm in it. It really was on brand. So that was cool. They had the cars coming out, and they were doing the walkouts, and that was neat. The pit crew, but I could tell on TV it looked darker than it should, and I could notice sprinkles. And I've seen a rain delay in NASCAR before. We're a noted NASCAR podcast, and I could tell that there seemed to be rain on the horizon, and the rain starts, and the bottom line is they end up getting a half inning, or really, but a little over half an inning in. It was a disaster for Fox and Major League Baseball as far as how that could have gone. We can get into some of the personal stories of fans in attendance a little bit later, but overall, it did not go well. for that night.
Yeah, that's the consensus. Mr. Lewis, did you tune in for the Speedway Classic?
Yeah, so I started. Me and my wife were laying down, getting ready to watch the game. We saw it was going into a rain delay, and so in a story we may bring up later in the episode, we began watching a series that I began to watch. So we'll check back and forth in between episodes. Saw the first inning, and then saw the raining coming down with the puddles, and I knew that was just going to be a wash. So at that point, I kind of gave up hope, and honestly, didn't stay awake for them to even realize that they were going to replay it today. But I did watch it today, but it was a mess.
Yeah, I saw this. It was either the beginning of the season in April or preseason when they announced they were going to do this Speedway Classic, Braves Reds. And I'm noted on the show of a fan of games in different locations. So like football games and baseball stadiums, basketball games on aircraft carriers. And they wanted to they billed it as the I think the largest baseball attendance of all time, breaking the world record for a baseball game. And super excited. I think at the beginning of the year, the Braves and the Reds, they were both seen as contenders. But yeah, they missed the mark big time.
Yeah,
Braves are. Go ahead, Braxton.
Yeah, over 85,000 tickets sold. They're expecting 100,000 people in actual attendance. The Braves they have like a bottom 5 record in baseball right now. The Reds are in wild card contention. They're not necessarily a front runner, but they are in wild card contention. And then, a week before the game, Acuna gets hurt again. Yeah. I could go on a whole tirade about Acuna's use in the Braves organization and what games he's been able to play and not. So that happens. Ironically, the guy who replaces him ends up being the MVP of the game. But the teams did not pan out the way they wanted it to. The demographic, like, you're still reaching those types of fans in Bristol is kind of a halfway point, which was good. But it kind of got sad for me as a viewer. You could tell like how bad they wanted to get this game in because there's so much money involved and people's travel plans. Because this isn't like the game was being played in Nashville. Like, you have to want to get to Bristol. Hotels, all that, the logistical side of it's not easy, and I'm sure a lot of the people who were going to the games probably didn't have a hotel for that night or a hotel for today. They were getting back to where they were going on Sunday, which caused some issues. So when they went out there and played the inning, and you had third base and shortstop, it was just
standing water.
Like I almost felt bad just because I know how bad they wanted to get in, but you could tell how forced it was.
Yeah, and I mean, super cool too. I'm blanking on who's the Braves? Who's the starter? The Braves starter.
It was Spencer Strider.
Yes, that's right, and he is, I believe, a Tennessee Knoxville graduate. So that was great having him start the game. Good storylines, cool venue, but yeah, it did not go well. And then, I mean, some are comparing it. It was like the Fire Fest of Major League Baseball, and the issues that they had with just logistics and supplies, and they were serving bunless hot dogs. They ran out of hot dog buns, and they had no cheese for the nachos. It was a mess.
Both pitchers who were tabbed to be the starters, Chase Burns for the Reds and Spencer Strider, both Tennessee-born pitchers. Chase Burns ended up giving it a go for the half inning. Spencer did not. And then What's weird to me, as you mentioned, the Fire Fest, they ended up going out of Coke, I think normal beer, like all of that was gone. They were down to water and tequila and no buns for their hot dogs, which I did find interesting. I understand with the rain delay, people might find themselves eating and drinking more, but Bristol is a venue that is used to accommodating far more than 85,000 people. So for them to run out of food, I don't know if it's different vendors with the MLB coming in or what. That was shocking to me.
Mr. Lewis, what do you think about the bunless hot dog?
Yeah, I think unless MLB's sole purpose was to put everybody on the Atkins diet, I just don't understand logistically, how that happens. Where you have 200,000 hot dogs, you should have 200,000 buns. So I don't even understand how that happened. I will say to not maybe defend Major League Baseball, but had the weather worked out, had the Braves been healthy all year, had the Reds had the season they had, it would have been astronomical as far as the viewership, with Ellie De La Cruz, Burns, Acuna, maybe Ozzy Albies would hit above his weight limit, whatever the case may be. That had the potential, with Atlanta being the South and all the storylines, it had the potential to be, just an unbelievable event. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had a say. Tweaking of Achilles tendons had to say. There was just a lot of things that kind of were going against it.
I'm not, I'm not in the front office of MLB. I'm not going to try to act like I understand how the finances work, but the idea in itself was great. The only critique I would have is when you have a sport that is played outdoors and it's a one-shot opportunity that you book months and months out. I almost would have liked to see them do the whole series in Bristol.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have been, at least if you have 3 games scheduled, you can guarantee one of those night games will go off without a hitch. And say on day 1 it gets rained out, but you already have game 2 the next day locked and loaded. So, because whenever I tuned into it, the atmosphere looked amazing. And then if you watch the game today, first pitch was at 1 p.m. They picked up from where they left off, and it just wasn't the same. The same amount of people weren't there, and you could see on their socials how they really tried to push that it was just as good as last time, but it just wasn't, because you can't recreate that moment.
And it's disappointing because I feel like MLB has done pretty good with, I don't know what they're calling these, but like the equivalent of like the hockey stadium series. Like I know last season they did a tribute to the Negro Leagues at Rickwood Field in Alabama. That was really fun. Fox did like a black and white inning. They played Field of Dreams out in Iowa. I believe that was the Yankees and the White Sox. So they've done a good job with these like, different venue games. But yeah, just Murphy's Law. What could go wrong went wrong in Bristol. My next question is where would you want like the next like stadium series game? Like what would be a cool venue for you for a baseball game?
Well, people online are saying that the MLB should have just kept it at the Field of Dreams. The Field of Dreams should just be a recurring event every year. And that's a safe play, but I agree with you. I like the diversity. They had the game with Fort Bragg or Fayetteville. Like that's cool. So
they built a brand new stadium at Fort Bragg for that. Yeah.
So I like the idea. Off the top of my head, I don't necessarily know where I'd want the next one to be, but it's a really cool expansion that they're doing, and I don't think they should just scale it back to just one repeating venue. I think they should keep pushing the limits. But obviously, moving forward, you would like to think they're not going to make the same mistakes twice. So this is a good learning lesson, and they're going to continue to improve it.
What about you, Mr. Lewis? You have a location you want to see a game played at?
Yeah, I really like the thought of doing it at some military bases. I think all 3 of us, being in the military would love that. As a Kentucky homer, I think it'd be cool maybe at a Churchill Downs or something. Cool. some iconic event that has some ties to, Americana. No one venue, comes to mind, but I do applaud them to try to get, this, baseball to more viewers, to get people to watch the game, because I do think it's important when you're talking about 162 games. It's tough to just keep doing the same old thing and hope people will come watch your activity.
I think the easy option would be a football field, considering they used to do that back in the day. You can remember September games going off. You can still see the field you can still see the baseball diamond on during a football game. The Savannah Bananas just did something similar. They still had a football field, so that's feasible.
So these are some freebies for Major League Baseball. I think these are pretty good ideas. So Major League Baseball, if you're listening, you can have this for free. First idea is they play a game on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. How cool would that be, having like the Lincoln Memorial like in right field? Probably be a security and logistical nightmare, but I think that would be awesome. Idea number 2. You bring MLB to Cape Cod and you do some sort of collaboration with the Cape Cod Baseball League and all those college kids. And Cape Cod Baseball is an institution, first and most prestigious wooden bat league for college players. So Major League Baseball at one of the iconic Cape League fields, I think would be very, very fun.
That could be a homecoming for a lot of those guys too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think even, maybe you take some of the superstars of the game and try to schedule maybe a home game back to their high school field, something like that.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Where you see kids that get to see some of their heroes, and it kind of continues to build the game and build the brand.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options, and unfortunately, this year was a bit of a smear. And hopefully, they, like Braxton said, they don't shy away from pushing the envelope.
No, you can't do that.
So more baseball for the Mad Hatter. We got a baseball heavy show today, and this topic, the current state of baseball, or even I guess Major League Baseball State of the Union, so to speak, was inspired by a Boston Globe article I read last weekend, written by Dan Shaughnessy, a longtime Boston Globe sports columnist. And he was at Cooperstown for the Hall of Fame induction weekend, where CC Sabathia, Ichiro were inducted. And he's going around talking to Hall of Famers, legends of the game. And in the article, he wrote about how it was consensus that today's generation of players are not seeking out and also not listening to these icons that they're kind of like semi-employed by the team. I wouldn't say employed, but they go to camp in the spring. They're consultants. Go ahead, Braxton.
They'll have them come on as batting or hitting coaches and just random like niche coaching positions.
Yeah. So there was one interaction where Jim Rice, Red Sox Hall of Famer, he was at Fort Myers Red Sox camp and was talking to a current player about like how to hit line drives. And he's like, yeah, this is like what you want to do, hit like swing for line drives. And then this guy from Driveline, you familiar with Driveline? Braxton?
Yes, I am.
Lewis?
I'm not.
So Driveline is like, it's basically like TrackMan. For baseball is my understanding. And it's all about like swing, launch angle. And that's what these teams are using for their analytics. And this guy comes running over and he's like, no, that's not what we're teaching here. That's not what we're teaching here. And Jim Rice, being Jim Rice, is, did you ever play in the league? And the guy's like, no, D1. So that just stuck out to me. I was just curious what you guys think about that, and how this especially generation of players seems so a gap from the game that has been played forever.
So, when during coaching, when I first got back into it after I retired from the military, my first introduction into launch angle was with a bunch of high school kids.
Really? They're in high school?
Yes, 100%. And that is something a lot of coaches, you're talking about those trackmans and drive lines. You go to a batting practice and it'll show exit velocity. And, that's kind of what college coaches are going with too. They feel the harder that ball comes off a bat, the better chance you have of getting on base. But I think when you look at it holistically, a lot of people feel like when you're talking about launch angle, the people with the contracts are getting those because they're hitting a lot of home runs. Mm-hmm. It's typically not looking people going gap to gap. You're looking for people that are hitting, 28, 35 home runs in the league and maybe hitting 230 for average, 117 RBIs and maybe, 120 strikeouts or more. So the old timers, it was all about contact, going middle of the field, line drives like you talked about, Dan. But that's not what gets kids excited anymore. They watch people growing up, the Aaron Judges. And if you follow any of that baseball talk online, there's an old guy that talks about Aaron Judge's wrist flip for his drive through on his swing, and how him and Chipper Jones got a long history of not agreeing with each other. So there's plenty of controversy to go around as far as launch angles and how attacking the zone and all that stuff, that I think is kind of put the game at a crossroads of how are we teaching the new people, instead of, hey, Aaron Judge can do his bat that way because he's 6'7", 6'8", 225. If you're 5'8", 150 and a varsity JV baseball player, you might not be able to do the same thing. So, yeah, I can see how the old timers could get upset with that because they're not being respected in how they play the game.
I'll try not to make this long-winded to the best of my ability. I don't have any empirical evidence on this, and this is probably a better blog post because someone could probably, maybe I should do it, but someone could probably just crunch some numbers and really like kind of edge it out. So like my perception on it is, and you see this a lot, Dad, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, from like just videos that I see. Like I know today they're teaching to hit up on the ball. Like now, like for younger kids, I'm talking like little league, like they are okay with you flying out or popping out. Like they're trying to hit up on the ball and kind of getting away from ground ball type hitting. And when you look at exit velocity and launch angle, I am positive there's some positive correlation between your exit velo, your launch angle, and some of the numbers that you can produce as far as RBIs, slugging, all of that. But what I would say is in like a little like Billy Bean, I don't know how, I'd love to know Billy Bean's like idea on this. There's a lot of hidden numbers. For baseball to be such a statistically driven sport, it makes sense why there would be a lot of stock taken with exit velo, launch angle. But there's also a lot of hidden things within that aren't captured by your exit velo that show up on a stat sheet that you can't really teach or coach. It just happens. Guys that find ways to get on base, guys that find ways to move the runners, guys that find ways to get hits and have a good slugging percentage without having the exit velo or the launch angles. I feel like just as many positives you can show for launch angle and exit velo, you can have a guy who's a counterpoint to that. And it really just comes down to which school of thought you want to follow. For me, if I was honored enough to be in the Major League Baseball and I had a Hall of Famer, someone who is enshrined in Cooperstown, giving me tips, I would probably listen to him a little more than what my exit velo or launch angle or whatever is showing up on my TrackMan. I'd listen to the tips of the trade from a Hall of Famer first.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, Braxton. I was like, just stuck out to me from the article was like the gall of this like Driveline employee to come up to Jim Rice and tell him to stop. And that's what he's paid to do. But it's crazy to me. In baseball, I think we'd all agree, like there's such history in baseball and these icons and legends of the game, and historically wanting to hang around like the current club. And that's always like, I remember going to Fenway Park and they had a box for like Red Sox legends, and each game they would recognize like a Red Sox legend that was invited to the park and would watch the game from the box. And it's sad in my mind of where the game is heading in this direction. And it's call me I guess an old timer. I'm only 36 and I don't like to be bucketed with Dan Shaughnessy, who's a noted curmudgeon and hater, but I don't like where the game's headed.
And I don't have his raw data in front of me, but just because I know him, he's a very easy example. Brendan Donovan, who just made the All-Star team, played high school baseball with him. I literally followed him throughout college and in minor leagues. I would listen on the radio to the Peoria Cardinals and Springfield. I listened to all of his games on his way up and playing with him. And Dad was at every game, so he can attest to this. He did, when he went up to bat, if you would have said, hey, this guy is going to be a major leaguer, you'd be like, okay. Now, in the same token, he did have like the Pirates, and he had MLB scouts at his games, and he had like some of the intangibles. But if he just went up to bat, he didn't, the pop of the bat, none of that stuff stood out. And when he got selected for the All-Star game, the Cardinals general manager even said in front of the team, which I thought was weird, yeah, when this guy got called up, I was told he's not going to do anything that impresses you, but it's going to be hard to keep him out of the lineup. And he just made an All-Star game. And he has none of the same antics of the Aaron Judges of the world, but he still found his way onto an All-Star bid. and he found his way to get a Gold Glove for a utility player 2 years ago. So for every example, there's a counterpoint to it, and that's kind of the beauty of baseball is how you can play your game and find success within the box score.
Yeah. And I'm curious, Mr. Lewis, I mean, it sounds like you're pretty close to the game. Are you still coaching or involved with youth baseball?
So no, not anymore. Since I took the job down at the Citadel, I still will get around and kind of throw a little bit with some of the kids that play for the baseball team that are in our battalion. But no, I just stay obviously watching, and me and Braxton, I think that's one of the things that we've stayed connected with, is just talking the game of baseball because of some of those things you all talked about, just the beauty of it, right? Like I think people miss, the chest of it. Like, do you bunt the runner over? Do you, how are we shading our outfielders? Where are we pitching at? Are we stealing signs? Like there's all kinds of stuff that go into the game. I do have to plug too. If you remember, the All-Star, Mr. Brendan Donovan, was a former guest of Basement Sports Radio too.
We had him on in his minor league days.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. So, but you look at where we're going with baseball. The thing, I think baseball holistically in a society that is so ingrained in a 30-second video or a 10-second video. Do we have to relook to build the game at the 162 game schedule, right? Do we have to look at the 9-inning game? Do we shorten it to 7? Me as an old timer says, no, I could sit and watch a 3-hour, 4-hour baseball game and be happy. But I don't know that that's going to continue to grow the game.
Not in the TikTok reel generation, the attention span. And going back to this launch angle thing, it has me really perplexed. So I had a very limited number and very small colleges interested me out of high school. And maybe this is the reason that when I was up to bat, I never once thought about what my launch angle or exit velo was. My approach every time up to bat, obviously with different counts and knowing who was pitching, like I knew like I'm looking for this pitch and this count or whatever, right? But my batting approach was always, as a left-handed hitter, I'm trying to go middle out with the ball and hope to God that he gives me something inside that I can turn on. That's as deep as my mind ever went up to bat. And just to think, and I can't put my mind in these high schoolers' heads, but I guarantee you they have so much going on in their brain when they're up to bat now, thinking about trying to get this shoulder dip with this wrist to get this angle. Like, I don't know how you even hit thinking about all those numbers and trying to just hit the ball.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing with hitting, right? Is trying to quiet your mind, and we would teach them mindfulness about and stuff. Y'all, I'm sure, still go over in the military, right, on how to do box breathing and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, yes, here's the problem with it. I've seen it from a coach level at the high school level. You have individuals that have gone even beyond what I played, that have gone maybe minor league systems that they come back, create these hitting cages and stuff like that. And that's the hot thing. They may not necessarily actually believe, or even that's what got them to the level they are. But if that sells, they'll start believing in it. And I think that's what's created a lot of the monsters is, the hitmans and the trackmans. When people could see it, it becomes a video game, right? You're in the batting cage and you hit the ball and you see your launch angle and it's going over the fence. Well, that in your mind creates, well, I got to do that when I'm up to bat. So it's if you got the physical tools to drop the hands and bring an upward motion with the bat through the zone, I guess more power to you. But there's a lot of people that are still playing at the highest level today that can't do that. So, that's where I'm at. If you got the physical tools, maybe you're 6'8", 250, 275, roll with it, I guess. But
Brett Favre
people, that's just
mentality.
not going to work.
Just wrap it out there. See what
Aaron
happens.
Judges. And so I'm right with you, Mr. Lewis, as far as I guess I'm an old timer. And for me, like a pitcher's duel. Like I grew up like the era of Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, and I would like a 0-0 game that's just a duel between pitchers. Maybe not exciting, on TikTok for reels, but to me that's ideal. And I do like the pitch clock. I think that's a good addition to the game. But what do you think about some of these other additions to the game that have, I think have totally changed it, namely the new extra innings with the runner on second base?
Dick Vitale has opinions.
Yeah, so I don't understand that. I think that is just another way to cheapen it. I mean, I get it. It's just an extension of what you said, the pitch clock, to include the throw over rule to first base, right? Like all those things kind of play a part in it, and will start eroding. And maybe I'm talking out of both sides of my face, but maybe that's one of the things they looked at. They can't survive with any more 15, 18 inning games, so they've got to do something to try to speed up the event, to help the brand. But I don't know. It starts messing with the overall meaning of what baseball is.
What about you, Braxton?
I don't hate the runner on second. I don't think it should be in the 10th inning.
Okay.
I think a compromise would be you don't start a man, because most of these games now they're ending in the 10th or 11th. I don't know what the average is, but like I've watched 2 overtime games like in the last 2 weeks, and they both ended in the 10th, which is fine. But I'd lean more. You don't start a man on second until, the 12th inning, kind of a la college football now with the overtimes, and then you go into the 2-point conversions. Give it a little time to let it marinate, for the purists, but it is what it is. And I'm with you, Dan. The pitch clock, I hated it at first, but it does kind of add an extra mind game in there, so I can kind of buy into it a little bit.
Yeah, the pitch clock. I think there's no there was some games were taking so long, and you could.
Well, the pitch clock is fine as long as you have a home plate umpire who understands some nuance in the moment.
Sure. Yeah.
Like there should be never this happened early on where you had guys who are going up to bat, like returning to a team that they just played at for 10 years and then getting a strike called because they took the standing ovation. Like there needs to be nuance with the pitch clock, and that's why you still need a home plate umpire who understands the moment, and that's why you can't get rid of them and go to the robot ball and strike.
Yes, and that's the other thing too. I remember like instant replay. That was so controversial when it came out, and I do think it's a good thing, especially like in parts of the game that are pivotal to make sure you get the call right. It seems like that's where baseball's heading, is to the robo ball and strike caller, which. I was a baseball umpire. That was one of my first jobs, and it was just kind of part of the game too. Like, and you can relate, like when playing, like this ump's got a different zone, and you forget it's part of the game, like gamesmanship, figuring it out. And when he gets tighter, looser, I'll leave it to you two on that topic. The robo strike ball.
But what you just said makes baseball, especially as a catcher, and I'm sure Dak can appreciate this. Like knowing your umpire. Knowing where to set up a strikeout pitch because he's more lenient to this type of pitch versus this batter or whatever it is. That's part of the nuance. Same with the stealing of the signs. Yeah. I hate the wristbands. Get the wristband down. You can't do a manual sign, then you don't get the sign. Like that's like I think that's just what makes baseball. And then I don't know, just some of that stuff's changing. It just goes to the times.
Yeah, I think, even as catchers, and Braxton, I think, did a really good job of this when he played. When you're talking about ball manipulation in the zone, trying to kick steal strikes and stuff like that, even the game's changed from when Braxton played. He was a traditional 2-knee, catcher. Now, I was teaching kids 1 knee down. Like the game's evolving, and I get that, but when you start talking about the human element, I think that does start to cheapen it a little bit. And I get it. And they did it in All-Star Game, where they could challenge balls and strikes where they tap their helmet. And I think it changed 1 or 2 and struck somebody out. And that was intriguing, but what does that look like in a playoff series? And, the game ends that way and people in the stands are like, what just happened? And, I think that just takes away part of the pageantry of what baseball is. And I think that's part of its selling point, right? Like, some of the moments that you think about, the fair foul, you're a Boston fan on the home run in the 75 series. Like all
Yeah.
those things are part of our fabric as a baseball fan. I think when we start looking at all these zones and robots, I don't know where we're going with that.
And this is the last thing I'll say on this, Dan, and we
Okay.
can move on.
I
But
do have one more. I have a fun story I do want to tell, but you go first.
But we're talking about like review, right?
Mhm.
And his name is slipping me, which doesn't help my story. But Dallas
Keuchel?
Dallas Keuchel, his almost perfect game, right? If he would have had review, he would be down in the history books for throwing that perfect game.
Is this the guy for the Tigers with the
For the Tigers, for
that was
the very last
that was what's it? That was Galarraga. He was the pitcher.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Guy. My bad. Wrong person.
Very good.
Back on.
That was
back on
egregious. That was so
egregious.
bad on that first
And
face up.
And the umpire went through a lot of stuff for that.
Yeah.
And again, doesn't help my point that I'm not remembering his name. But I remember, I can see it in my head. If he would have thrown that perfect game because he reviewed it and then the guy's out, like, does it still have the same mystique? Would there have been the Netflix documentary on it? Like all those things.
I mean, it was definitely a storyline. I have to imagine like that was probably a huge like influence and impetus to get video review because that was egregious, and I can remember it vividly. He was the first baseman, was like 5 feet off the back, and he just punches them out.
When I remember that clearly too, Dad. I watched that at Bill's house. I remember where I was when that happened, and the comments were egregious, but it's just part of it. It's just part of it, and I for better or worse, I'm here for human error in baseball.
I think you two will appreciate this. I was talking about umpiring. Did you ever umpire, Braxton? Mr. Lewis, did you ever umpire?
Yes, I did. Actually, baseball. I got some stories. Baseball wise, we've had family disputes where my wife hasn't talked to family people because they yelled at me. During high school football games, I've been heckled by my own son. Trooper Mack has heckled me from the stands.
Trooper Mack has heckled you?
I got heckled me.
Dan, so he somehow I didn't play football at Enterprise, but I was a student, and he had to get vetted in order to ref a varsity Enterprise game since I was a student. He got vetted.
Like conflict of interest. I mean, football is big. High school football in Alabama.
I mean, this is 7A Alabama football. So he gets vetted and he's cleared to ref this game, and he left no questions on whose side he was on because formerly mentioned Brendan Donovan, who played linebacker his senior year. I don't know if it was a late hit on the quarterback or something. He gets a late hit on the quarterback. Dad just in his face.
Yes, he number one, it was a late hit. Number two, he was talking mad smack, and then
So what'd you get him for? Sportsmanlike and roughing the passer?
And sportsman. Actually, I just went with unsportsmanlike just because he was kind of out of control. He didn't like it. I threw the flag because I was playing. I think it was line judge at the time. I threw it probably 20 yards. That didn't I launched it. So yeah, and then my son's up there heckling me, booing me. Trooper Max booing me. It was a sight. I would say maybe my daughter-in-law at the time was. I guarantee she probably booing me too. I don't know what's going on.
Incredible. This could be a whole segment.
Referee
Chris Lewis. I think we have to do it. But where I was going, so my story. So I umpired Little League games. So sophomore year of high school through college, and this was a summer league game, and they were young. They were probably I think 10 to 12. So the first time that they're throwing, pitching to each other. It's not like a parent pitching. And it was the night of the MLB All-Star game. And I had to get out of it. That zone was enormous. I think that those pitchers, it's 6 innings, 18 outs. I would say each side had at least 13 strikeouts. And I got that game done in 58 minutes.
Oh my gosh. My only reffing, I reffed 5-year-old soccer in high school, and that was just keeping everyone alive. I don't have any good reffing stories.
That was so. Oh
Listen,
man. Yep.
I think with reffing, especially the older you get, like staying involved with that is a great thing. But you get mad at umpires and referees. You'll see it at the college level that always kind of like want to be insert themselves into the game. But I would tell you that if you've done it at high, like it's hard not to. Like you're juiced up. The referees kind of, and that's why I hate kind of where baseball's going. I think it's important to have the his name's escaping me now. Was it the Hernandez guy in Major League
Hernandez.
Baseball? What is? Yeah,
West, Joe
he
West,
was
is that-
horrendous.
He's
Joe West was a yeah, he was. But you
was bad.
remember guys' names like that because they either
Right.
they made horrendous calls. Yeah, but it added something to it, and I think that's important.
Well, that was a fun topic. Deep dive in baseball, but we got to move on. And now I know this is going to be a trigger topic for both Braxton and our first live guest, Mr. Chris Lewis, the Mad Hatter. And I won't be able to contribute much here, but I will be, I guess, I will pose questions. I have a lot of them. So let's get into Kentucky Sports Radio.
Let me set the stage for Kentucky Sports Radio. So if you're not, I'd like to imagine someone's in the chat who hasn't heard of KSR. That would show that we're broadening. But if not, Kentucky Sports Radio was a blog created by Matt Jones from Kentucky, which ended up becoming a radio show, which had like an hour block from like 3 to 4 p.m. in like one radio station in Louisville, which then pretty much segued into being a 10 to 12 hour block in the greater Lexington area circa 2008, 9, which then grew into having an affiliate all throughout the state, which then grew into being on iHeart, so reaching a national scale. It's a daily radio show, which also has a podcast. The crew's created it has Matt Jones as the host, Drew Franklin, who's a co-host, Ryan Lemon's a co-host, and Shannon the Dude is a producer. Now, so that's the show. So they have a daily radio show. It's a classic call-in radio show, my dream job.
He's a former attorney. I got to add that in there. Matt Jones is a member of the bar.
Correct, and we're trying to be on. You're trying to be on Matt Jones' track if everything works out. So he was an attorney who quit his law practice to do essentially a blog and a radio show. He very successful, very intriguing guy. Dan, you were introduced to him when we were in Poland because I would listen every day.
You listened every time we did a lot of driving across Poland, and you were driving, and the man behind the wheel gets to control the radio, and it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I mean, because you like sports talk, but. So anyway, that's
what I think I like more was how much and you'll get into it right now, of the reactions you would have to Matt Jones were more entertaining than the show itself.
So his the reaction he makes me have are very volatile, and that's the setup. But Dad, before we really get into it, because I don't really know this about you, because I can remember as a kid when we would drive places, you'd always have talk radio on it. As a child, it would annoy me. I remember listening to KSR consistently my freshman year of college, so that's 2015. When did you start consistently listening to KSR? Because I'm assuming I picked it up from you, but I don't really have like a clear starting point in my head outside of freshman year of college.
Yeah, so to be completely honest, I don't have the memory capabilities that you have. But I will say that I think this was year 2 or 3 of Matt Jones when they got on KSR. When I first started listening, I missed the first couple of years. I wasn't like, so I think it was
the championship year?
Maybe after, 2012, correct. Yeah. Got back from Afghanistan. I think that's basically the first introduction to Matt Jones, because I know I didn't listen in Afghanistan in 2011. So yeah, that was probably my first year of kind of putting it on the airwaves. Prior to that, I'm sure it was some type of conservative talk radio.
Did you pick him up from? I can remember like in 3rd grade, so like 2004, 5. I can remember you calling in like pregame basketball shows I don't know if it was Buzz Baker or if it was Tom Leach or whoever it was, but so you've always been into it.
Yeah, that was the official like Kentucky Buzz Baker type calling show, but not like your mom has been the KSR Amy from the Orange Lot calling person, but my experience has just been the Tom Baker type thing. So his genre, I guess you could say, was new to me starting in 2012. That's kind of where we first got our introduction to him.
Okay, and so really, Dan, for me, it started. When I got to college, and he hits on this even to today. So this is 10 years ago. When I got to the Citadel, I wanted a connection back to Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I have the best memory, I like to say, but I really just don't remember like the first time.
Today you kind of been off.
Well, not even just tonight. Again, I was really dwelling on this when we said it was going to be a topic. I don't remember like the first time, but freshman year of college, I know like I would always listen to the podcast at the end of the day, and my really like introduction where I knew I was hooked. So whenever the Cantina Pal stuff happened at Louisville with Rick Pitino and all that stuff.
It must have been like 2016, 2017. Yes.
So they had Cantina Pal. Well, it was my freshman year, so it would have either been 2015, 2016.
Because when that Louisville season that didn't happen, what was that, 2013?
That was 13.
Okay.
That's 13. So anyway, he was able to get Cantina Pal on KSR. And like I said, it was a 10 to 12 hour. I did not have a 10 o'clock class, but I had an 11 o'clock class. I remember vividly skipping my 11 o'clock class so I could listen to both hours. And I was a knob, so like usually upperclassmen would come in my room and like mess with me. I'd like lock the door, put a chair under the door so attack couldn't come in. Like I was listening, and I just sat there and listened. And he had the Cantina Pal interview, which was just huge at the time because she was giving her firsthand account of what happened and all the allegations. And ever since then, I've listened every day for the most part for the last 10 years. And the thing about Matt Jones is he is an extreme liberal, which is ironic because most of his listeners are conservative in nature. And I don't know what it is about this man. I envy him. I envy everything he's done. He's done exactly what I wish I could do. I would do anything to work for him. If he offered me a job, I would do a heartbeat. But he gets my juices in my blood.
You can't stand him.
He fires me up more than anything. I would just love to have a conversation with him.
So we put this on the ticker topics because the KSR is ever expanding, is my understanding. Can you get into that?
Say it one more time.
KSR is like ever expanding, and now they have a new, I guess, production that's got you fired up.
So here's the thing about KSR is Matt has built this with kind of really the knowledge of me. Like he doesn't know how to do things. Like I was trying to make that YouTube. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to make reels, and he's the same way. So he built this from the ground up. He's able to get deals. He has recently, so about 6 years ago, he ended up getting the Sunday morning show before the official pregame show on ESPN for Sunday night for Sunday morning football.
That's what he's going to be doing.
So he started an NFL show. He admittedly said, "I know nothing about the NFL. Knows none of the rosters, none of the nuance." But he parlayed himself to that show, which he still has, Matt and Myron, every Sunday morning. And now he has even parlayed that to an official NFL podcast, which he's going to be doing on Sundays. He went on the airwaves this past week and complained that they'll have to record the show after Sunday Night Football, and he has to wake up early on Monday. So it's a real inconvenience for him. And it's just things like that. You know what we do on a day-to-day basis in our jobs, and the idea of, oh, darn, I have to watch Sunday Night Football with my buddy and then talk about it, but I have to wake up at 6. Like, you would never hear a negative thing out of it. That'd be a dream.
And we got some chatter in the chat. He knows nothing about sports and has 3 sports shows. That's from Miss Amy Lewis, our 4th host of Woody Lewis Sports and You, the U. So what do you guys have to say about that?
Here's what I'll say. She's 100% correct. He is an individual that is six. Imagine a man that is 6'4" in Eastern Kentucky and was unable to play high school basketball.
Okay,
Captain
I
of
know
the chess
exactly who
team,
you're talking about.
right? Like he's that guy. And I will say his ability to get people to listen, to entertained. He took something that people are very passionate about, because we in the state of Kentucky, there's not a lot. We don't have a pro sports team, so
Mhm.
all things Kentucky, people are inundated with, and he was able to break out and kind of create that atmosphere to start a radio show. And he's able to kind of market that. Like you can't deny that. He's almost like a toxic boyfriend or girlfriend, though. Like you don't want
You just
to
keep on
listen
coming
to
back.
what they have to say, but you keep coming back and you can't understand it.
So
The
he should
thing
be on
that
an
I
episode
think
of Parental Control, right, Mr. Lewis? I heard that was a favorite of yours,
ab-
Parental Control.
absolutely, which by the way, when we talk about his memory, I had to go back and Google, because I was like, are you sure I like that? Yeah, he was right. I did, because I went back and YouTube that 100%. I think I watched 2 on YouTube last week while I was thinking about it. But yeah, he has the ability to somehow, I can't explain it. He makes you so infuriated with his lack of knowledge, but also you want to hear what he has to say. I can't explain it. But here's the thing that currently has me fired up. I don't know how Braxton feels about this. Here's a man that was at Kentucky Fan Day at their media thing this weekend, University of Kentucky. He can't name you the quarterback, doesn't know anything about what's going on. Talk to Mark Stoops. He was, talks a big game away from Mark, and then he gets there and then he kind of fluffs him up, which is typical Matt. But can't name a player there yet. He said he has to go study and learn all these NFL teams, which I think kind of tells you, I think, the way he's going. I feel like he's trying to get out and branch out into the national media, which, I'm not going to hate him on that, but it is a little disappointing that people aren't calling him out on that. He's very hypocritical. He has a co-host there, Ryan Lemon, that he really gives a hard time about not knowing people and not doing show prep and this, that, and the other thing. Yet, he's the host of it and couldn't tell you 3 players on the college football team.
So, and Dan, Matt Jones, his most redeeming quality is he is a phenomenal radio host.
Okay.
He understands timing, and he is great at being a radio host. He is just not a sports guy, which irks people, but at the end of the day, he's a great radio host. He's better than any of us, but he doesn't know anything. And that's why he upsets people, because when you have a fan base that's so passionate about their college athletics and you don't know, imagine
he's supposedly the mouthpiece, this is Kentucky sports radio. He's supposed to be a mouthpiece, but doesn't know diddly.
Exactly. And what's weird, this is what I find weird is imagine Alabama, right? Imagine Alabama had a football host who was the biggest sports host for Alabama football, but knew nothing about Alabama football. That show would not succeed. No. I promise you, would not succeed. But somehow in Kentucky, and what he has built an army, Dan. So if you go to Kentucky Sports Radio podcasts on Spotify, you can see people will comment Matt's getting too relaxed. He doesn't know this. This is very basic stuff that a fan would know. Someone will comment that and have a list of good points, and then you'll have 20 comments of people saying, "Wah, cry more." People will die for this man. They've made a Ladies of KSR Facebook group. People
How do we get a Ladies of Woody Lou Sports and You Facebook group? That would be cool.
Producer Kaylee needs to get on. And so Patsy in the comments,
yeah,
you're right. He when the Citadel beat South Carolina, he was like, the Citadel, who's where
how much did that just get under your skin, Braxton, when he was like, who's the Citadel?
Oh, I remember I called into the show.
Gavin, he asked in the chat if this is the guy we called up. You've called in?
I called me and Gavin went to Alabama, Kentucky basketball 2 or 3 years ago, and we went to get Chick-fil-A, and I called into the pregame show. And I think I don't remember what I asked. I feel like I asked a very like legit question, and he just like blew it off. I called in one time, and it was ironic. He was talking about how he didn't know the Citadel. I was the next caller. He called up, and I was like, "Well, hey, like I go to the Citadel," and he just like brushed over that, and then like probably like I've had 4 Twitter accounts blocked by him.
4 Twitter accounts.
But here's like the thing. This is like therapy for me. He's blocked me 4 times. I just made 4 new accounts because I had to see what he was saying.
It's a drug. You can't stop. You're addicted.
I can't stop. And if he walked in my house right now, I would offer him a beer and talk to him all night. It's the weirdest thing.
He has the ability to gather people that I just don't understand, but he is very frustrating. Even from time to time, Miss Amy will let out a chuckle at something he says or go. She's like, I don't understand why I'm laughing. I can't stand the sound of this guy's voice. Like he to his credit, he is a very powerful guy in sports radio in Kentucky, and I can't explain it, nor will I stop listening. Just to be quite frank,
you both watch the NFL show.
I listen to Matt Myron every Sunday getting ready for church. Like, and the thing is, if KSR stopped tomorrow, like 50% of me and my dad's conversations would go away. I don't know what we talk about. So like it's so embedded just in everyone's psyche. I'll never forget. I was at a Lexington Legends as a single A at the time affiliate of the Astros. He was throwing out the first pitch. It was dollar beer night. I was just laying into him.
You're hacking on like your dad, Enterprise Football.
Yeah, and then I went and took a picture with Drew Franklin.
Valid.
We were down at the Citrus Bowl. We saw him out one night. I got a picture with him. Like we were best friends. And I probably went and like tweeted and attacked him that night. Like, it's just the weirdest.
This is like a girlfriend like that. You just is bad for you, but you keep on coming back.
You just can't shake it, man. But he knows nothing. But what's impressive is how he just continues to admit he knows nothing, and he keeps getting great jobs. That's why I told you, Dan. Like, there's a world where we have an NBA podcast because I don't know anything about the NBA, but if he can do it, why can't we do it?
You were so fired up when you was like, Matt, he's got this new NFL show. He doesn't know anything about the NFL. You were so worked up, and just it was also funny too. Is like, I guess it's his shtick and it works clearly, but like you would think that he would try to learn something when this is like, I understand like at one point he was probably, this was like a moonlighting thing for him, very much like us. I'd probably be a much better host if I didn't work, probably close to 60 hours a week.
But Dan, what I would contribute it to is you're in the Army, but you're a lawyer, so you're a smart guy. So just like when you did, and this is going to be some word salad for people they're not going to understand. Like when you did ESB in Poland, you knew 0% of any of those things, but you were smart enough to where you could sit in your bed and Google something and just retain it. So like he's gonna learn it all. He's gonna figure it out, and that's what makes me so mad. Like
I love it. You're so fired up.
Oh, that fires me up.
Yeah, he is a very, to his credit, very smart guy, very intelligent, and I think that's what, like, he knows just enough to like be able to be in that arena. Mm-hmm. And like Braxton said, it is a weird thing where he will tell you, I know nothing about what cover 2 means or spread offenses. He knows nothing about it. He's not going to break down film for you, but he has the ability to kind of find a storyline and kind of relate that to life, and that's what kind of people get drawn to him. He has big ideas about stuff that people get fired up about. It's
and his downfall right now is with the media day thing that Dad mentioned. And I've been saying this, if you look at Kentucky's roster right now, I'm just talking their 1 deep.
Okay.
And Kentucky's 1 deep right now is better than their 1 deep in the last 5 years, at least since 2018. But Matt has been talking like, well, I don't know this player. I don't know this player. Like, oh, who's their starting tight end? Who's their starting? But
That's so frustrating. That would make me so mad.
But here's the thing. Like, I didn't know because we had 50 players leave. We had all these players come. So what did I do? I researched, and I was like, oh, dude, like, we have this guy. Like, we have a great roster. So then a week ago, a caller called in and pretty much made the point I just made. He was like, Matt, like, this roster's not bad. Like, I understand we have a hard schedule, but this is not a bad team. And his rebuttal was, well, who's the backup outside linebacker? And the guy was like, you know what? I don't know the second string outside linebacker right now. He's like, exactly. Hang up.
Pretty good.
Like, hang up on this dude. And then, so when he talked to Mark Stoops on Friday at Media Day, he was like, for the last couple months, we've been saying that y'all are back. No, you haven't been saying that, dude. And you didn't even know Seth McGowan. You didn't know the starting running back. And it just fires me up. Dad, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think his ability to, and he won't, if he's confronted for the most part, if it is somebody that he knows actually has more power than him, he backs down. But when you have like just a regular caller who he feels like his power, he's got more power than that guy, he talks a really tough game and will kind of put him down. But like the way he talked to Coach Stoops on the interview was nothing like he's been saying. And that's the thing that's very frustrating with him. Is that he gets the fan base fired up about, hey, we're looking at 3-9 and what are we going to do? And he can sit there and say, and I'm not saying it wasn't time for a change for John Calipari, but he's being very like hypocritical when he said, well, I didn't have nothing to do with John Calipari's firing, but he had a lot to do with the fan base, getting fired up. And same thing, I think, with Coach Stoops. And to be quite frank with you, I think it's good for his rate. It might not be good for his bar business that he has in Lexington, but as far as his radio business, anytime there's a coaching controversy, people are going to, really clamor to that to get information on what people know. So I'm not saying he did that as a business decision, but it sure didn't hurt any either.
And Dan, I know I mentioned like the ladies of KSR Facebook group and all this, and just for people who aren't from Kentucky, just to understand, I promise you, he could go on the radio waves and say, hey, meet me at this spot on this mountain, and I'm going to lead a group of people, and we're going to live here. He would have hundreds of people show up and follow his cult. I am not exaggerating.
That's impressive. He's an author too, right? He's a published author, right?
He wrote a Simon & Schuster published book about Mitch McConnell. I couldn't even get through it. He's a published author. Yeah,
so maybe you got to write a book, Braxton, to get us on the map, and we can have a ladies of WS&Y Facebook group.
Yeah, he went to all 120 counties in Kentucky, got stories from people, wrote about that, and then every once in a while he dug on Mitch McConnell. That was his book.
Yeah, and
bestseller, I'm sure.
New York Times bestseller.
New York Times.
New York Times.
Yep.
But I will say
that was fun. Go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
No, I was just saying to I know you're probably going to wrap this up, but I will say, as much as I hate hearing some of his comments, I know he's going to get me frustrated. I can't stop, when I'm getting ready for work or whatever, putting on his podcast. And I would like to be, I wish instead of a lawyer, Dan, you were maybe a psychiatrist, because I like to be psychoanalyzed on why I do that.
Can't help you there. Not that kind of doctor.
All right.
Any closing thoughts, Braxton, on Matt Jones, KSR, really anything?
Gavin, my duck is never going to get back from this Commonwealth of Kentucky. That bird's gone.
Goodness.
Thanks for bringing that up and getting me jabbed in the heart. Appreciate that.
Dan, can I talk about the duck?
Please. I don't know what we're talking about, so yeah.
So Braxton, I couldn't tell you the duck. Went hunting with a longtime listener, Gavin, and killed some type of special duck. I don't know. Duck has a bill. To me, it's a duck. And
duck's a
he
duck.
got his Yeah, correct. He got his mother to drop off this duck in a place in Kentucky where they're pumping sunshine. Had she got lost, we're doing another lost episode. He's had the duck now. I retired from the Army in 2020. I think Braxton killed this duck not long after I retired, and this guy was supposed to mount and do all this stuff, this duck, and yet it's still in Kentucky. So I don't know. And this guy comes highly rated, like
Is he a
on
good taxidermist?
Yelp. He's like he's a 4.7 taxidermy in Yelp. Yeah, I don't know, Braxton.
Dan, I killed the duck in 2022. He's had it since 2022.
You want me to go drive up there for you?
So I've messaged him consistently. I've lived in 4 different houses since I gave him this bird.
Well, I work in Kentucky now, so I can pop over.
I DM'd him. I've had people offer to go. I finally, because like I said, my buddy's mom is an attorney in Kentucky. I threatened to take him to small claims court
For the duck.
because I've already paid half up front. I was going to take him to court over $150. I threatened it, and he said that the duck would be done in June of 2025. And
So he's had it from Miss Amy Lewis. He's had this duck since January 2023. Was when it was dropped off.
correct.
So you can get the duck in. You're supposed to get the duck 2 months ago.
Gavin and Tyler both killed ducks on that same trip, and their ducks are safely in their homes. Mine is still in a freezer. After I threatened to take him to court, that was in May. He said it'd be done in June. I've DM'd him. I'm on red. I've accepted that I'm just not getting this bird.
I'm convinced if he ever does get it picked up, it's going to be a robin. He'll pick up a robin that'll be stuffed.
It's a waste of meat. I'm just mad, honestly, because like that was meat that went to waste. That was a bird that went to waste.
It's a good looking duck.
It was a beautiful duck, Dan. It was the best.
It makes
duck.
it even worse.
Yep. So But you know what, Dan? I forgot that you're in Fort Campbell. When that duck is ready, don't be surprised if you get a phone call, because I think it would be great content for you to go and retrieve this animal.
God, I don't know what I would be doing. I don't even know the words to use. That would be a good reel.
And you can put the duck behind you. It could be a part of your backdrop. It could be a running gag.
Oh, I do need to decorate. That would be pretty. I feel like I need to get my own duck.
Well, we could go do it. Reelfoot
Okay,
Lane.
that's maybe next episode. We'll talk about duck hunting.
Okay.
But duck, because again, this is like Matt Jones. I don't know what I'm talking about, but when is duck season?
It'll be coming up. So you got early teal season is in like September, and then duck season actual will start up in like November through January.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be some future episodes, and maybe some one-offs of me going to the taxidermist.
That'll be exciting.
All right. Well, I think we're going to close with that, but thank you to Mr. Lewis, the Mad Hatter, our first ever live guest on Woody Lou Sports and You. Not done yet, but no technical issues tonight, and that was huge. And thank you to our award-winning listeners. Braxton, any final thoughts?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you listening. Make sure you tell your friends, like, and subscribe.